Well, we have a super special treat. One of my favorite mentors and gurus and experts is back with us, Mr. John Jantsch, author of Duct Tape Marketing, the ultimate marketing engine, the referral engine, all kinds of books, all kinds of programs. John, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. It's been a while. I think at least a year.
It has been a while. Well, the last time we talked, and I want to kind of just maybe start right in the middle. We were talking about your book, which is a little bit different than some of your other books, called The Self-Reliant Entrepreneur.
Okay.
And that was a really cool experiment. And talk about what that book was and what that book did and how that stacks up just as far as a fun project.
Well, you'd mentioned I've written a few books, and so I've written a lot about marketing for many years, and I really just wanted to do something different. I was a little burned out on writing about marketing, I think. And so I proposed really through my agent and then the publisher that ended up buying it, a book that would allow me to kind of reflect on my 20-ish plus years of being an entrepreneur. I have a thing for transcendentalist writing, mid-19th century transcendentalists, who I think were some of the first, at least American rabble rousers, frankly, kind of first ones out there saying, you should think for yourself. Maybe we don't have to, maybe we should, do what's in our heart. The Emerson, Thoreau, stuff people read in high school and college. And so what I did is I wrote a daily meditations book. There are 366 entries. I took a little something from a passage in that writing, and then I kind of riffed on the idea a little bit. And then I left you every day with a question too. So it's one of those kind of workbooks you read all year long. It's not I'm going to sit down and learn something necessarily. It's more just a book to help you reflect on your journey.
Amazing. And we had a really great interview about that. We'll probably link up just so you can catch up. We will link up that interview in the show notes below this episode. And then we're going to spend most of our time talking about this amazing certification network that you've built. But I do want to catch up with your latest book, which is The Ultimate Marketing Engine. Having written one of the mega bestsellers, of course, Duct Tape Marketing, and that kind of took on a life of its own and a brand of its own. Tell us a little bit about the evolution of the Ultimate Marketing Engine and what you were doing in that book that you did not do back in the Duct Tape Marketing book.
So in some ways, it would have been easy to write Duct Tape Marketing Revisited. And in some ways it kind of is that. It's definitely an evolution of my thinking over, 15 years of working with duct tape marketing, but it's probably a book that's aimed at a little larger business maybe than duct tape marketing traditionally is. The concepts in duct tape marketing can certainly apply to a very large organization, but I talk more about something. I introduced something I call the customer success track, which is really a way to think of your customers more as members. Think of them as joining your organization to go on a journey from where they are to where they want to be or where they want to go, and how do you build your service offerings? How do you build your value delivery around taking them on that journey? And so it's a much more strategic book. It's maybe a bigger idea book that has sold extremely well. The feedback I've gotten from people have really taken that idea of the customer success track and are starting to build it out. I built it as a marketing tool, but it's certainly something that could influence any business, regardless of the business they're in, to think about their customers differently.
Yes, I love it. And it's not just member acquisition, it's member retention. It is process and systems and a whole new way to think about the entire kind of marketing life cycle, right?
Well, and how you mature with your clients as well. I've always felt that I wanted to have clients for life. And I have some my longest running client I started working with in 2004. And so, one of the things, if you have that mentality, one of the things you generally come to grips with is that your offerings have to evolve. What you do for them has to get more complex, maybe, if you've been successful and help them grow. And so the idea behind this is that you develop that roadmap for where we're going. Most of the businesses that come to me or have come to me over the years, are kind of in one stage of their marketing. You know, their website's not quite right. They don't really know content. Social media is just a distraction. We got to fix that foundation. What they really want is more customers, but we've got to fix that foundation before we can make the phone ring, before we can start creating recurring monthly revenue. And so it's a journey or a process that has set stages. But it's, as we've continued to try to look at, like, what's next? What can we do next for you? You know, it's actually changed our thinking about what we offer and what our services look like. And you know, our ideal customers in many cases now want to start thinking about exiting their business. Well, that's not necessarily a common marketing, you know, thing that you start offering, but we're starting to get more into operations and fulfillment, and even this idea of exit, because that's where our customers want to go.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the duct tape marketing certified consult, the evolution of that program. So take us back to when the book first came out, when you first launched this certified consultant network, which was years and years and years ago, and then how that has evolved to where it is today. And then I got a zillion questions for you.
Okay. So duct tape marketing is and was really just a distillation of my methodology, my system for how I, you know, had worked with small business clients. It really came about because I really loved working with small businesses, but I had been sort of classically agency trained, and the way that I had been trained didn't seem to work for small businesses. You know, they had the same needs and challenges, never the same budgets or even attention spans. So, you know, really one day I said, look, I've got to create an approach where I can walk in and say, look, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what you're going to do. Here are the results we hope to get. And by the way, here's what it costs. You want it or not? And I found in trying to solve my frustration, I tapped into what is still today, maybe increasingly, one of the greatest frustrations with small businesses. It's really gotten hard to buy marketing services as a small business. Everybody's selling the idea of the week, the next new thing, the thing you got to do. And so the fact that somebody was going to give them a system, install a system for marketing, and you were going to know what it cost, I think it was music to their ears. So that, you know, really, that actually became duct tape marketing. You know, that was my system, my approach. As I started seeing, you know, around the turn of the century, I love saying that, that this internet thing was going to catch on. I was like, well, can I take that and document it? And so that was, you know, that was well before the book. You know, I called my system duct tape marketing because I felt like it needed a brand name. You know, few years go on, I'm writing about it. I'm blogging. I finally write a book about it. Well, I started hearing from independent marketing consultants around the world, really, that were like, hey, that's what I want to work with small business too. And I can't figure it out either. You know, can I license your system? And I think in the back of my mind, that was always on the roadmap, but you know, clearly people saying, here, take my money so you can train me, you know, kind of speeds up the process. Right. And so, that was at least 15 years ago. I kind of started down the path of taking marketing consultants and teaching them my system, letting them use the tools that we had developed. Well, it's certainly evolved, you know, because we're about 150 agencies now, and you know, every single person that comes into it probably comes for some of the tools, but certainly stays for the network and the collaboration that happens. And we gain by, you know, all the masterminding, all the events that we do. You know, the system itself has continued to get better. We've worked now with thousands of small businesses installing the duct tape marketing system. And so it's something that, we actively continue to develop, actively continue to grow. You know, we're getting back to doing in-person events again, which was a big part of it. You know, anybody who's out there, you know, many of the people in our network are solopreneurs. You know, we're teaching them how to orchestrate and you know, bring in partners and things, but they really stay for the network. They stay, you know, for the collaboration and really our point of view that marketing is a system. It starts with strategy before tactics.
So let's just unpack this a little bit for the folks that are saying, wow, this is really great. Either I can become part of this network, right, or maybe the parallel thought they're having is, what would it look like if I were to have a certification program around my IP? I'm sure one of the first thoughts that crossed your mind, and maybe you heard this from friends and colleagues and so forth, John, Are you crazy? You are creating dozens and dozens of competitors. If they can get duct tape marketing from Bill and Susan and Fred and Mike, why is anyone going to come to John? Dude, you're cannibalizing your own business. This is crazy. Number one, did you hear that? And number two, what was your response to it?
I'm not sure I heard it as enthusiastically as you just said it, but my response to that is there are 10 billion people who need what we do. And
right.
So, I couldn't create enough, competitors, if you want to call them that, but I don't see it that as especially for me, because I think people see me as the headquarters and of the brand, and gosh, wouldn't somebody rather work with the headquarters of the brand? But the fact of the matter is, the members don't see themselves as competitors. In fact, some are even in the same town, and they see themselves as cooperating, as helping each other. And again, part of it really is that the need is so large that you couldn't possibly run into each other. Frankly.
Right. Now, I'm also curious, because I know some of our other friends and colleagues have these certification programs, and they say these folks, these certified consultants, are reaching markets that A, I could never reach,
Sure.
and B, I don't even want to. So, for example, duct tape marketing for real estate, duct tape marketing for small industrial companies, duct tape marketing for agricultural products, duct tape marketing for retail yarn stores. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You might look at that prospect and go, wow, that is not my person.
Sure.
That is not my ideal client. Oh, it's your ideal client. Well, why don't I give you the toolbox to help them and serve them? They're never going to come to me, but they're certainly going to come to you because you're already established in that niche. So what are some of the specialist pockets that you've noticed in your network of 150 or so?
Well, it may sound a little corny, but this was always been very mission driven for me. I didn't want to build a huge organization. I could have, captured all of the business, right? Had 100 consultants internally.
Right.
I didn't want to go that route from a lifestyle standpoint, but I did want to help small business owners. I love working with small business owners. So there was an aspect of this was very mission driven. I can get as much as I need, doing what I'm doing. And now I can help, thousands of other businesses. Right. And so to your actual question, the home services, galore, every construction, HVAC, those are, I think a lot of it's because of the nature of that kind of business. A lot of times they are pretty high cash flow, quite frankly, not marketing technicians at all. So certainly they appreciate the idea of somebody coming in and kind of done for you. A lot of professional services, I personally, have done content marketing before we called it that, and participated in social media, hopefully in an authentic way. And so I think a lot of professionals see this idea of building trust through those kind of long-term approaches as very connected to what we do. Those are two pretty broad areas, but certainly those are two that most of the consultants have some amount of work in. We certainly have consultants that work with dentists, one that works with chiropractors, one, and we have people that come in with their own specialties. We have web designers, who have joined, and obviously a great deal of their work is evolved around people's websites. We have sales managers who have joined us, and a great deal of their work now is getting marketing and sales on the same page. So, while people are licensing our system, it's really principles that I think are completely flexible to the industry they want to work in, the size of business they want to work in, based on kind of their background and their experience. We have, I would say about a third of our network are people that are jumping out of corporate, and they're like, I've never owned a business. I don't know how to do this. We certainly can meet them where they are. We have a lot of people that, hey, I have no problem getting clients. I'm busy as heck. Now what's happening is I'm, spinning too many plates. I need a different approach, right? And our approach is very, very different in terms of how we serve and fulfill clients. And then we have certainly a group of folks that have been in the network for a while. They've grown to the point where some of their problems now are operations and looking at profit in a different way and looking at new IT solutions in different ways. So we really kind of we almost have three groups within the network, of of kind of startups, of people that are trying to grow, and then people that are trying to scale. And so we've been able to really, I think, apply what we do to all three of those types.
Yes, for sure. I want to talk about the selection and the interviewing process, because I'm guessing that's another risk that, in a way, you're putting your brand in the hands of someone who they better not mess it up. Right. They better not mess it up if an end user client realizes, oh, I'm working with a duct tape marketing certified consultant. This person should not be an incompetent schmuck. Tell us a little bit about the vetting process, the selection criteria, how you look at interviewing potential licensees.
Sure. So I probably err on the side of being a lot looser than a lot of people would be. There certainly are people that try to lock every aspect of that down, all kinds of rules and regulations. And I'm not saying that's wrong necessarily. I just didn't want to go that path. I'm more concerned that I can help this person build a viable business. And so we, I think what a lot of people do is they have a weekend training and then they call somebody certified and they give them all kinds of rules they can and can't do. We went the route of building a lot of infrastructure. We have, several full-time employees that do nothing but work with the network. We train 3-4 times a month on things. We have in-person events. So we've built a real network where we continue to give them tools, develop tools. We'll never be done developing them. And I think that's not only made people stick with the network. Our retention is ridiculous in terms of people staying. And a lot of that's, it's twofold. They like the people that we attract. They like, their values. And we never stop innovating. And so, we're constantly giving them new things to work with. So, do we have people that maybe don't represent it the way I would do it? Sure. But again, I'm more focused on, I feel like if we can work with people and be their partner in success, then they're going to do the right thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm also curious because, of course, you are always coming out with new things and new content, new books, etc. So let's say someone has been in the network for a good number of years. Years ago, you came out with the referral book. Then you came out with the selling book. Is all of that included in the umbrella, or is it just purely the duct tape marketing system and there's some pretty firm guardrails around that?
No, I pretty much, my approach has always just been, here's something new you could do. So I bring it to the network. If I think it fits, referral engine was frankly came out of duct tape marketing. If you follow my customer journey, referral is certainly an aspect of it. This last book, the customer success track, is really something that's just been an evolution of how we look at, the marketing journey for our clients. So, duct tape marketing is duct tape marketing, but I think pretty much everything's does flow from that idea of marketing as a system.
Gotcha. Now, the last time I looked, there was one program. I'm looking today. There's 3 programs. There's 3 different levels. It's really one program, but 3 different levels. Talk about when you made that change, why you made that change, and kind of what you'd like the career path of someone coming in to be as they ascend that ladder.
Yeah. So we've probably been talking about it for 2 or 3 years, but in earnest just made that change probably less than a year ago. And really it was meant to address, that person just getting started. To some degree, they don't know what they don't know. And if we just shoot the fire hose at them, a lot of times we would just overwhelm them. And so we started looking at this and saying, well, here's what they really need to get started. Because we'd have people join and they'd want to do the 75-step funnel, as their first thing. And we're like, no, go out and talk to 2 friends. That's where you need to start. And so we really built that first stage for that person to say, look, we're going to help you get your first 2 clients using this methodology. That's our goal in this stage. Then you can graduate, so to speak, to where now getting clients can be systemized, but also now fulfilling, what you do with those clients can be systemized. And now you're ready for the tool set that instead of going out and signing up for every $99 a month tool that you're going to use, but you don't know how to use yet, wait till we get to this stage. But then we also, as I started to mention, we have folks that, they've chosen a different path. They've got 10 employees now, and they, they're having different issues. They don't need to know how to get clients. They don't need to know, what they're going to offer as a package. They need to know, how do we find how do we find 3 account managers, who can deliver on this as well. And so in that level, we're not only doing masterminding, we're actually putting their team members, through training as well. So those 3 levels exist because people who are in those different stages of their business, they just need different things. And so this allows us, there's nothing worse than getting on, being an expert in Google Analytics and getting on a call that, is for beginners, right? And so that allows us to really kind of customize the training based on where somebody is.
So you actually have separate tracks, separate meetings for the folks that are level 1, level 2, level 3.
Yes, that's right.
Even separate Facebook groups, or is it all one big community?
No, it's all one big community.
Okay.
So in our in-person events, we'll do, we'll do breakouts and things like that, based on it. And it's not meant to exclude anybody. It's meant to make it more relevant.
Right. Of course. I want to talk about a certain pocket of person that I think maybe even is your primary kind of person, which is kind of like the marketing agency owner, right? The totally commoditized, we build websites, we do SEO, just like you said a moment ago, John, we do Facebook ads. It's like, well, you do Facebook ads like every other Yahoo does Facebook ads, right? You build websites like everyone else builds $5,000 websites, or you do kind of social media marketing like every other Yahoo does social media marketing. This is an area where you can immediately elevate yourself and separate yourself into truly strategic and advisory work, not just the pair of hands kind of commodity doer, but also the thinker, the advisor, the thought partner. Talk about when your agency folks come into this, what are some of the light bulb moments that they're having about this whole new world that just opened up?
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I mean, when I can get people to understand, and when they're successful 1 or 2 times, they get it. If I can get them to understand that if you lead with strategy, first off, you're going to attract the right client. And secondly, you're going to build a relationship as a trusted advisor. You're not going to be the doer anymore. Whatever you recommend at that level, for the most part, they're going to accept. And so they're not going to be coming to you and saying, oh, I need this or I need that. It's like, no, we're going to install a system. It's going to start with strategy. And then we're going to execute on the strategy. In fact, we're going to do less. We're just going to do it brilliantly. Well, all of a sudden that person is like, oh, why didn't anybody else ever tell me that? Right. So it's a huge differentiator. It allows you to sell much higher ticket. Because again, now that you've got their trust, now that you've shown them a message, now that you've shown them how to streamline what it is that they're doing, you've built so much trust that now they're willing to pay what they should be paying for a certain service, but to execute on a plan, not to just do a tactic. And it just makes all the difference in the world, in the relationship that you have with the client. There's just so much more respect and so much more value that you're bringing. And so you don't have to get down into the selling tactics is just a race to the bottom. I mean, AI will pretty much do everything pretty soon, right? And so, we have to sell ourselves as trusted advisors because AI won't do that.
Right, exactly. And I know that one of the big drivers with all of your consultants is get off the gigs, monthly recurring revenue. Retainer business is the business that these 150 folks aspire to, are implementing, and are able to scale with. So there's a video on your website. There's a couple of great videos about the certification program on the website. And you compare a chief marketing officer, right, or a VP of marketing, which is like anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 a year, with an outsourced kind of fractional CMO that might be more like $60,000 a year or $5,000 a month. People are looking at that going, John, I wish I knew where to find these $5,000 a month clients. Where have I not been looking? Where am I overlooking the opportunities? So when people come in, they're used to doing project work, perhaps, and they're used to doing work for kind of lower level, smaller clients, where $60,000 a year, even though I know it's reasonable for you and me to be talking about it, they're like, I've never sold anything that big.
Yeah.
What do you say to that person, or what direction do you give them? You've been looking for love in all the wrong places. Stop looking here, start looking there.
Well, some people never recover from that, because part of it is, part of the reason they're selling $500 engagements is a lack of confidence, feeling a bit of an imposter. Like, I don't know if I can get any more than that, because again, they're talking to people who also had that mentality. So one of the things about talking strategy, I mean, somebody calls you up and says, I need a website. And you say, no, you need a strategy. If they hang up on the phone, good deal, right? Now neither one of us is wasting time. But if they start, understanding the power of strategy, understanding the idea of driving a customer journey, you're going to get that client that all this is like, I'm going to pay for that. And so you won't be talking to those people that just want to thrash around and do the tactic of the week, because you'll never make them happy, because they'll never build a business that's sustainable.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about selling. I know you have this fantastic book, the Duct Tape Selling book. I have a new book because I'm the slow kid on the bus. I realize most marketing problems end up with a sales disaster. So we got to fix the marketing problem, and we have to fix the sales problem. Why are so many trusted advisors reluctant to do prospecting, even if it's highly targeted, highly relational, highly relevance-based, but they just don't want to put themselves out in the market and invite people to a conversation? What is so scary about that? And what's your recommendation for the consultants that you work with to kind of get in the game and make things happen?
So I think it's scary for a lot of people because they've been subjected to a bad experience of somebody doing that to them, right? We've all had that bad experience. And so when they start thinking of that, they immediately put themselves in that camp, even though you and I both know we're talking about something completely different, right? And so I think the biggest thing that I learned many, many years ago is that I can have a much better sales conversation if I just show up and deliver value. I'm not going to sell anything. I'm going to actually demonstrate, what it might be like to work with me. We have a process we call the marketing hourglass, and we're able to sit somebody down in a sales conversation and run them through the 7 stages and show them where their gaps are. And it's really just like, hey, let's do this fun exercise. First off, you take over the sales conversation at that point, right? Because you're there to deliver value, and you're not just there. The worst thing you can do is show up and go, what do you need? And, right down the rabbit hole of how can I get a lower price? But if you show up and say, look, I just want to demonstrate something to you. Let's go through this exercise. It'll take 30 minutes. We find that people get a tremendous amount of value out of it. We take people through that conversation. We get them to demonstrate where their gaps are to themselves. And literally at the end of that, they're going, well, what would it take to fix this? And that's the end of the conversation. Done deal. We close about 90% of the people that go through that process with us. And so, have a process, make sure that it's very laced in value, and get the client or prospect to participate in that process. And you will be asking them questions and getting them thinking about things they've never had anybody else ask them or get them to think about. And that right off the top is going to put you in a different class.
Yes. Well, and this also kind of flows backwards to your content marketing, right? Are we putting advice out there that is relevant to our best and highest clients?
That's right.
Or are we still kind of communicating with broke people? And I say that with love, but are we doing content marketing that speaks out to low-level problems with strugglers or high-level problems? Because John, you and I both know, 7-figure business owners, do they have problems? Sure. They're better problems. They're bigger problems. They're sometimes more interesting problems. That's what the content marketing should be doing. Whereas if we're always kind of struggler language attracts struggler prospects.
That's right.
How do you reprogram folks to start thinking higher level vibration, higher level marketing dialogue with your marketplace, even with your content marketing or your videos or your blog?
Well, one of the things that we have found talking about consultants that come into the network is once they come in, they know they've got a problem. They're charging $200-300 a month for services,
Yes.
that a client's like got their cell phone number for, right? And what we find is it's really a lack of confidence in themselves. And so we do spend a lot of time working on, helping people see the value of asking better questions, the value of looking in different places for leads. I can't tell you how many times we've had somebody come in and I just tell somebody, look, go double your prices right now, today, double your prices. A third of your clients will leave you. You'll be ahead, and the rest won't, right? And we get people to do that a time or two. And all of a sudden they're like, holy cow, that's all I got to do. And so, some of most of the issues people have with charging enough or with going out and asking for more is it's a feeling that they don't deserve it, or a feeling that they aren't smart enough or experienced enough. And you and I both know that if you've read one more blog post on a prospect on a certain topic, then you know more about it than they do. So
right,
don't let that be a distraction. Especially we're working with small business owners who, frankly, they want to have a trusted partner in this area, because 99% of them don't want to have to think about marketing in a, they want to think about growth and they want to think about new customers, but they don't want to have to think about marketing in the way that, that a true marketing professional can help them.
Yes. Well, I also want to just mention that this is not just, hey, John and the team will train you in the system. You have really built this very vibrant, collaborative community where I'm imagining people are doing business with each other. There's referral relationships that start to happen. There are joint projects, perhaps from a scalability standpoint. When one certified consultant can't handle something solo, they bring in another one or two to work with them. They get a whole set of tools. Yeah. So white label tools and PowerPoints and things that they can put out. Talk about some of the gee whiz, some of the gee whiz cool stuff that they get beyond the ability to teach, train, and consult your IP.
Sure. I mean, so, right off the bat, the thing that we get them selling is, something we call strategy first, which is a completely documented process for developing marketing strategy and plan for a small business owner. So right out of the bat, all the tools we use for that, our proprietary processes, as you said, the PowerPoints, the meeting by meeting, here's what you need to do. And that for many people, what our approach is, a lot of people just try to sell retainers. Our approach is, I'm going to sell you strategy first. We're going to do strategy first. And at the end of strategy first, you're going to say, how can we work together? And now I'm going to sell you the retainer. And it's probably going to be higher in terms of fee than I would have, before I built that trust. So we give them, I think, a complete different way of looking at delivering this service. First off, they're going to sell a $5,000 to $10,000 engagement that is going to lead to, a $3,000 to $5,000 a month engagement. We actually have completed a complete roadmap of what that package after strategy should look like, dependent upon where the client is or the prospect is. And we have a software program that actually you plug in a bunch of things and it tells you, here's the roadmap, for them going forward. So it does such a different, it does, it creates such a difference in the market, because everybody else is selling, what do you want today? Or you need this one thing. We're selling this strategy. We're selling then an implementation that you can actually then look at a roadmap. Here's what the next year is going to look like for you. Our average retention is 19 months, with a small business client. And, for some, it's many, many years. But you go to the average marketing consultant or the average lead generation consultant promising Facebook ads, and it's like 1.9 months retention.
Yes.
And so I think the biggest thing we give them is a different way to go to market. I mean, even somebody who's just getting started can go confidently and say, here's what I do, here's what you're going to get, and here's what the next year looks like. And I think that's a huge part. Another huge part is we spend a lot of time developing strategic partners. So we have web designers, we have content writers, we have SEO folks, we have a whole suite of tools that people are familiar with that we get discounts for, that they need to use for analytics and for some of the SEO work. And so being able to come in and say, look, I got this client who needs all this stuff. Now I've also got a team of people who can do that. It allows you to stay strategic. It allows you to build client relationships instead of, getting down in the mud. I mean, anybody can figure all this stuff out who wants to take the time to do it. But there's not a lot of money, in figuring, out how to hack WordPress, when there are people out there that can do it, in their sleep, brilliantly for you, for much less than you could do it yourself. So that's another huge part is our partner network.
Yes, absolutely. John, I'm curious, with the partner network, is there just one provider per service, or hey, here's 3 web folks that we love, here's 3 SEO agencies, here's 3 paid ads companies, they've all been vetted, it's just different strokes for different folks, perhaps different types of budgets, different types of projects, so there's multiple choices. That's within right.
Yeah, and we do that intentionally. I mean, there are some companies that work best in a certain type of engagement. We just want to give people options. Also, if you're going to have a strategic part, I mean, our approach with strategic partners is we're going to embed them pretty deeply. I mean, we even have a couple virtual marketing agencies that apply, that will give you assistance. You need somebody to do social media posting, or you need somebody to be an account manager. We kind of are able to help you build team as well, but we definitely like to have options, because you do need to connect with, that person or that company or their process. I tell you, the beauty of it though, is it's not just vetted. They know what our process is. And so you're going to be able to go to somebody and say, here's a wireframe for a typical kind of website. And that web designer is going to know what to expect from a duct tape consultant.
Wow. Really, really good. I want to just tap into kind of the meta level of this. So number one, we're going to drop some links. We're going to give people all kinds of resources so they can learn about joining the network. For the small handful of people that are going, wait a minute, I'm a pretty advanced consultant with whatever it might be, leadership or customer service or innovation or corporate strategy. Why don't I think about a certification program for my stuff? What would you recommend the first 3 or 4 steps when someone's looking at this the way that you looked at it and said, what are the pros and cons?
Sure.
How heavy should this be? How much of my time should this take? Because this is like a full-time thing for your team. I know it's not necessarily for you full-time, but you certainly have dedicated people that are running this program in a world-class way. What should they be thinking about if they're thinking, gosh, I've got this amazing leadership program, other people should be able to teach this inside corporate America?
Yeah. So I, as you might imagine, I have a number of people who are thinking about doing that, want to pick my brain. And so the first thing that I always tell them is you have to decide how committed you are to this, because there are 2 ways to go. You could build a training that somebody buys and, maybe you lead it and you teach them, and maybe they come back quarterly and get certified. Donald Miller, has built StoryBrand, in that fashion, or you can really commit to building the infrastructure around it being an ongoing, network where you're a significant part of their life, their business. And that's the choice I made, but it's a big choice because first off, somebody can buy a program that they're going to get some extra, they're going to maybe bolt on to what they're doing if they got $5,000 and an extra weekend, right? And so it's not a huge decision. It's like, is this going to enhance my offerings? In our case, people join the network and it really it's their methodology. It's what they go to market with. Not many of them call themselves duct tape consultants necessarily. I mean, they have their own brand, their own names, but they're going out selling strategy first and the marketing hourglass. So, I mean, they're ultimately using our methodology. And so in order to attract people like that, we have to build something pretty robust. I mean, you should see our duct tape university is insane in term, because I've been building it for so many years, but also because now every proposal, every case study, that a consultant, goes into that library. And so, we've got this massive library, this massive infrastructure, this commitment to events monthly, quarterly, annually. So that's a decision you don't want to make lightly, because there's nothing worse than starting out down that path and then trying to retrace. Now, I do know people that have, and I think that's a big part of it. Like, I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, I've got this training that I could do." And it's like, well, that's good, but nobody's going to make a living out of like selling your training, and I think that's the key. If you've got something that you can take and turn into, say, a $2,500 program, and it really doesn't require you supporting ongoing, but it's something that, is going to be significant to somebody, I would probably go the easier route. I love what we've built. I love the legacy that is, going to come from that. And the fact that we've helped, I've personally have some insight into the thousands of businesses that we've helped, but it's a much bigger lift.
Yes. I love that. Well, John, thank you so much. This is totally awesome. Two final questions. The final question is going to be, how can people get connected and stay connected to you and the whole duct tape marketing certified universe? Even before we get to that, if folks were to take one overarching idea from our conversation today about certification, systems, process, certainty that a system like this puts in the hands of someone, what would you like that overarching takeaway to be?
Well, I think the biggest lesson for me doing this is it's not only having this proven process, but it gets more efficient over time, because we're doing something that's repeatable. We're doing something that we're learning from every time we do it. And so it's far more profitable. I can deliver the same results, in a third of the time now, for example, in doing strategy, because I've done it so many times. So I think that's probably the biggest lesson when it comes to this idea of a system approach. Now, if you're one of those people out there thinking, well, I have some IP, I could probably do that with, I think one of the keys is it's harder to transfer your knowledge than you'll ever believe. And so if you're going to be successful at getting people to understand your approach or your innovation, you're going to have to be able to break it down in the simplest possible terms that you can. And it will be somewhat grueling to get it simpler than it is today.
Oh my gosh. And how? All right. How can people get connected and stay connected to more John Jantsch brilliance? Let's send them some links, some resources, and all of these will be in the show notes right under this episode. John, where can we send people?
So the easiest place, if you want to see everything I've been doing for the last few decades, is just ducttapemarketing.com. And that's DUCTTAPE marketing.com. There'll be a big button at the top that says, become join our network. I can't remember what it says. I never go there, right? Join our network, and that'll tell you, everything about the network. But just for fun, if you want to take a little assessment of maybe kind of where you are or what you're thinking, we have a little tool that's free to use, an assessment. You can find it consultantassessment.com, ask you about 15 questions, and then give you a full report that kind of shows in the continuum of all the consultants we've worked with over the years, kind of where you fit today.
Very nice. And it's consultantassessment.com.
Correct. Absolutely.
Excellent. And by the way, the button on the website up at the top, it does say join the consultant network. When you go to ducttapemarketing.com, don't worry, you don't need to write anything down. Right under this episode, clickable hot links to take you straight there. John Jantsch, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on with us.
Hey, it was my pleasure. I appreciate it. You do such a great job, and I'm looking forward to working with you on your new book.
Ooh, exciting stuff. All right, my friend, I appreciate you.
All right, take care.